Santa Maria, Santa Maria, Santa Maria, Santa Maria. Hello, I'm Father Tom Casey. I'm with you from Ireland today, and that song I took the melody is Santa Lucia. It's a Neapolitan song, but what I put in there as the words were Santa Maria, Saint Mary, Holy Mary. Why Mary? Because I think Mary is a great help to us at this time of the coronavirus pandemic, especially when we're trying to pray and put ourselves in God's presence, which I think is so important. Why is Mary helpful there? Well, let's say you were getting the chance to meet the Queen of England or the President of the United States, and you had the chance of a private audience, get a one-to-one meeting. Well, first thing is, you wouldn't turn up dressed in an old t-shirt and faded jeans. You'd dress up properly. You'd make an effort for the occasion. And secondly, if you had the chance to meet them and you discovered that a good friend of theirs was willing to bring you into their presence, you would be delighted to avail of the services of that friend. So when it comes to God, Mary is like that. Mary is a great friend of God. She's full of grace. Like when I go before God, what have I got? I've pretty much nothing. I've nothing to recommend me. I'm just a poor sinner. But with Mary at my side, Mary can dress me up in her virtues, because we're not talking about material clothes here. You know, God doesn't look on appearances. God looks at the heart. And when God looks at the heart, and if he sees the heart of Mary, he sees Mary who's full of grace. In other words, full of God himself. He's ravished by that beauty. So it's great if we can come into God's presence with Mary. And prayer is such a help to us, because at this time of pandemic, you know, it's a time when we ask, like, what's the purpose of it all? What's it all about? Well, actually, here it is in one sentence, the purpose of life, at least. The purpose of life, we're here to know, to love, and to serve God and on earth, and to be happy with God forever in heaven. That's the purpose. We're here to know, love, and serve God on earth, and to be happy with God forever in heaven. And Mary can be a great help to help us to reach that goal. So that's why I want to talk about Mary, and to show you or illuminate that point in a nice way, in a very beautiful way. I want to take an example from Italian literature, from the Shakespeare of Italy, if you like, from Dante. Now, over 700 years ago, in 1308, Dante, the great Italian, the greatest of Italian writers, started to compose his Divine Comedy, or as he called it in Italian, La Divina Commedia. And Divine Comedy, why is it called that? Well, it's called comedy because although it starts in a difficult situation, it ultimately leads to a happy ending. So comedy for that reason. Why is it called divine? It's called divine because it leads finally to the bliss and delight of heaven. So therefore it's divine. It's both divine and a comedy. But let me just take the very beginning of that Divine Comedy. At the very first line, he's not in a happy or delightful place. At the very first line, Dante says, in the middle of life, I found myself in a dark wood. Una selva oscura in Italian. Oscura is the word from which we have obscure or dark in English. So he's in this dark wood. It's a terrifying place. It's a savage place. It's an inhospitable place. It's a place that it doesn't make any sense to him. He's lost his bearings. And we're in a kind of similar situation with this pandemic and all the restrictions and that it has imposed on our lives around the world. We're in a dark, difficult place. But let me now fast forward to the third part of the Divine Comedy. It's called Paradiso, paradise. And in that part of the Divine Comedy, after a long and torturous upward journey, Dante meets the famous French saint, Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. And Bernard of Clairvaux says to him, look, I can get you to heaven, but we're going to need some extraordinary help. And we're going to need the help of an extraordinary woman, the Virgin Mary. So in canto number 33, St. Bernard of Clairvaux sings this lovely hymn or poem to Our Lady. And he says to her, O Virgin Mother, daughter of your Son, humble beyond all creatures and exalted, here to us you are the living fountain of eternal hope. And that's a beautiful description of Mary. You know, she's the mother and daughter of her Son. She's humble on the one hand and yet exalted above all creatures. And she's the living fountain of eternal hope for us. So it's thanks to the power of Mary that Dante actually arrives in heaven and sees God. And it's when he sees God that Dante begins to make sense of all the preceding journey. And so it's no longer so absurd, so awful, because now he can see there's a pattern, there's a design in everything. And so when we come to the very end of the Divine Comedy, these beautiful words that he talks about, God is the love which moves the sun and the other stars. L'amor che muove il sole e l'altre stelle. So God is the love that moves the sun and the other stars. And I think I'd like to remember today, especially the people of Italy, because they've been going through one tough, really difficult, heartbreaking experience. So I pray, because I'm talking about Dante, pray for them, but pray that we would find the help of Our Lady would be a help that can bring us to see the underlying love, the underlying design that, you know, beyond this dark wood, selva oscura, there's a resurrection, there's new life, there's new hope, there's new faith and trust and new love. And so I'll just finish off by singing again, Santa Maria, Saint Mary or Holy Mary. Santa Maria, Santa Maria, Santa Maria, Santa Maria. Thank you very much. God bless you. Goodbye.